What's going on, everyone? I hope you're having a good one, or as good of a day as you could possibly be having given all the craziness currently going on in the world. In this video, I'll be giving you a day 3 update of what's currently happening in Israel. I'll be talking about the market, and I was kind of surprised to find out that not only was it green today, it did pretty well. I'll be talking about a certain subsector of stocks that's performing very well, and I'll really be diving into one that I find particularly interesting because I think it has quite a bit more upside. With that being said, if you enjoyed this type of content, I do try my best to be as unbiased as I possibly can. Don't forget to subscribe. With that being said, let's rock. By the time the closing bell went dingity ding ding ding, the Dow closed nearly 200 points higher, I'm saying higher, not lower, as investors shake off rising oil prices from Israel-Hamas war. Now, obviously, that might be a little bit confusing, things going well in the market when we're looking at a new serious global conflict, and I'll be getting into why and some other things, but first, Israel orders total siege of Gaza, 9 Americans confirmed dead in Hamas attack. No matter how you look at this, no matter how you chop it up, it is a very, very sad situation. Many lives are being lost. Unfortunately, even though things are looking pretty bleak, I fear that they're going to get worse, probably much worse, before they get better. The Prime Minister of Israel just vowed retaliation has quote-unquote only started. The attack on Israel from the Gaza-based militant group Hamas, which started Saturday, has killed more than 900 Israelis, mostly civilians. Vowing retaliation in an evening televised address, the Israeli PM said retaliation has quote-unquote only started, and what we will do to the enemy will echo down through generations. Obviously, this is not adding up into any of the sense of the conflict being close to the end. Check this out. Israel announced its largest ever mobilization, more than 300,000 army reservists. Now, this is going to come as a shock to absolutely none of you, but mainstream media is already accusing Twitter, well, aka X, of spreading misinformation. X, formerly Twitter, amplifies disinformation amid the Israel-Hamas conflict. From the outset of this weekend's Israel-Hamas conflict, graphic footage of abductions and military operations has spread like wildfire on social media platforms, including Twitter. Disinformation on the platform has made it harder for users to assess what's going on in the region. Now, before we get to this last part, I want to make it very clear. Do I believe that there's misinformation out there? Yes. But what I find interesting is more of the fact of what they're using as their sources in this particular piece. Over the weekend, X flagged several posts as misleading or false, but dozens of posts with the same video and captions were not flagged by X's system. We're talking about dozens of video when there's probably thousands of different videos and posts coming out every single minute. So when it comes down to it, yes, I do believe that unfortunately it's not a perfect system and probably misinformation does get through. But when your source is a couple dozen, just dozens of videos, think about how much is posted every single minute. This, to me, in my opinion, is another example of mainstream media realizing that they're losing ground not only to just Twitter and X, but really independent journalism. There, in my opinion, is no more rapid source of knowing what's going on than Twitter, or I guess we should be calling it X, whatever you want to call it. I think mainstream media is basically running scared, and they're going to do whatever they can to throw a little bit of cold water on Twitter because yes, it is the fastest. Is there going to be incorrect information some of the time? Of course. But if you want the fastest updates of what's currently going on in the world, especially this, I learned all of my information from Twitter, many different sources, because really when I looked over to mainstream media, I realized that they were just regurgitating the same thing that, if anything, I would argue that some of their things were misinformation. So just wanted to bring this up of it took what? One day, a day and a half for MSM to already get angry at Twitter and the fact that everyone seems to be using that more than their services. Anyway, back to the main point of this video. By the time the stock market bell closed, the overall market, the S&P 500, was actually in the green. It closed out the day at 432.29, which was a gain of 0.64%. And on top of that, you can see on Friday to close out the week, it recaptured an important trend line. And today, it bounced right off of it and continued even higher, setting up potentially tests of 436. And after that, I'd be looking at 438.43, an upside gap fill. Once again, this is the S&P 500, but the tech-heavy sector, the Qs, the NASDAQ, is no different. In fact, it had a potential trend line breakout, the Qs gaining 0.5 0.51%. Now with this and all the craziness, and especially because of the geographical location of Israel, you might be thinking to yourself, well, oil is probably going a little bit crazy right now, and you're not wrong. Oil surges as Israel conflict reignites Middle East volatility. So if we look at crude oil right here, let me quickly bring this up. You see, yeah, went up by 4%. On Friday, its low was 81.50 a barrel. Today it got as high as 87 and some change a barrel, and closing out in the mid 86s. So yes, oil is going up. And if you look at any oil related companies such as Exxon, XOM, that was up 3.5% today. If you look at Chevron, up 2.77%. If you look at Occidental, yeah, up 4.5%. So the energy sector, specifically oil and oil related companies, all because of fears that maybe production could be impacted, or maybe not production, but maybe even the trade routes. Obviously, it's going up because if demand stays the same, supply goes down. Well, yeah, prices have to go up to make up for that equilibrium. But that's not the only sector that did notably well today. Look at defense contractors. Let's bring up Lockheed Martin, LMNT. That was up 8.9%. Very impressive. Let's look up Northrop Grumman, NOC, up 11.4%. Let's look up General Dynamics, GD, that's up 8.4%. Let's look up Raytheon, RTX, that's up 4.6%. You're kind of getting the point here that a lot of these companies, especially if they're in the world of aerospace, defense, anything like that, it was a very, very green day for them. And I wouldn't be surprised, as long as this conflict continues, for them to keep going up. But there's one I want to bring to your attention specifically, and that's Palantir. Ticker symbol PLTR had a nice gain of 6% today. If you're looking at the technicals, it had a nice upside breakout. There was a failed shoulder, head, shoulder, broke the other way, maybe on its way to testing 18. After that, I'd be talking to 20. And I just want to make it very clear. At this point, as I'm filming this, I own no Palantir. I feel like I might have missed the boat. I was trying to get it when it was cheaper. Obviously, it's running away from me now. Maybe in the future, I'll create a position. I'm just trying to be as transparent as I possibly could be. But really, the reason I'm bringing this up is I know there's a lot of interest in Palantir. Obviously, it exploded with the AI boom. If you don't know what Palantir is, it is AI-powered operations for every decision, powering AI-assisted decision-making from war zones to factory floors. We build category-leading software that empowers organizations to create and govern artificial intelligence across public and private networks. So obviously, earlier this year, maybe you missed it, but there was a lot of an AI craze. So clearly, Palantir benefited off of that. Look how well it's doing this year. I mean, year to date, Palantir is now up 167%, but I want to talk about why I think it can keep going. Now, obviously, the theme of this video is there's a new global conflict, a very serious one, a very sad one that I personally don't believe is going to be ending anytime soon, but we have to look at what Palantir does. It gave a little bit of a hint here from war zones, but really check out what this means. These are the earnings reports, specifically the highlights for the most recent quarter for PLTR. Revenue grew 13% year over year to $533 million. Interesting, but look at the subsector. Government revenue grew 15% year over year to $302 million, as in about 60% of the revenue is specifically from the US government, and there is also a decent chunk from international governments. But anyway, Palantir, a data analytics company, a big AI company, does a lot of work for the government. And obviously, in times of heightened conflict, there's more government contracts. And here's an example of one, and really I'm using this to showcase to you, to highlight to you of how I think more of these are gonna come in. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I hope, in a weird way, I almost hope I'm wrong, because I want the conflicts to stop, because I don't think that there needs to be so much needless, innocent bloodshed. But if there isn't, okay, this is something to pay attention to. But even if I am wrong, just look at the world of technology, data, and the fact that their major customer is the US government, a person who, their pockets are essentially infinite because they're taking your tax dollars and my tax dollars. It seems like this is a pretty good long-term bet, but I just want to show you an example of the type of contract that Palantir commonly gets, and I think they're going to get even more of them in the future. This was announced in late September, so it's about a month old at this point, but I just want to let you know what's going on. Palantir will get a boost from a new $250 million US Army contract involving AI awarded on Tuesday. While this contract adds fuel to the argument that Palantir is more like a government service provider, this contract bodes well for Palantir's fourth quarter and 2024 revenue. The US Army Research and Development Services contract is for 3 years. So this is just one, and if you search Palantir government contracts, you're going to see many within the US government and then even some on the international scale. Meanwhile, Palantir stock could get a further boost if the company wins a new contract from the United Kingdom's National Health System. The NHS used Palantir's during the Rona period. A bigger contract worth roughly $595 million is now up for grabs. The decision is expected by the end of 2023. With government customers, Palantir has used AI tools for intelligence gathering, counterterrorism, and military purposes. Palantir is now integrating generative AI into its software platform. Even without the conflict, I see the world going very much in the way of AI. I don't see in any way the US government slowing down its spending on analytics, big data analytics, and AI. And now, when you throw in the current debacle, the current mess, I think the contracts are continuing to flow. Now, obviously, once again, these are my own opinions. At the point that I'm filming this, I own no Palantir position. I'm not long, I'm not short, I don't have calls, I don't have puts. I wish I was in it. It's up almost 170% on the year. I was waiting for a cheaper price. I may have missed the boat. I just wanted to bring this to your attention because it's definitely on my watch list of something I would be willing to buy if there is ever a dip. But right now, in the current turmoil, the current state of technology, it does seem as if this one has a decent chance of continuing its rip to the upside. Now, obviously, with that being said, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Because of that, I would love to get your thoughts in a comment below. Right now, are you more excited of what's going on in the world of commodities, specifically oil? Are you looking at some of these other AI tech names? Or are you saying, yeah, no, Palantir, maybe you're already more informed on it and it's a stock, an equity that you've already been following, already love? Let me know in a comment below. I appreciate you stopping by, checking out this video. I'll catch you in the next one.
Have a beautiful day.